Hey everyone, it's Matt, ESC United, your favorite Eurovision channel. Welcome to Mattitude, the live stream where we're talking about, you know it, Eurovision. And I'm not here alone, it's me and. Wait, where are you, Sean? Bernie, get out of the way. He's everywhere. I knew. Where are you? Where are you? Ah, hi, Sean. There you are. How you doing, my friend?
Hello. I'm good, thank you. How are
Yeah,
you?
yeah. As much as I love my
Yeah.
Bernie, I prefer my Sean over it. So as you can see, it's Sean and Matt. Actually, say my name, Sean.
Matt.
Matt. They cannot
Matt.
afford T's in the UK, so I love it when you say. And we are here to talk about the best thing in the world. It's been a minute, Sean. How you been?
Yeah, good. As well as one can be at the minute, but you know, we've got all these exciting shows and songs to go through. So yeah, it's good to have it back in a way.
Yes, yes. We don't
Yeah,
know what
in a
the
sense.
future holds in store for us in terms of Eurovision 2021, but more on that later. Right now, what we want to do is focus on the good stuff. Hello, everybody in the chat. And in case it's the first time you're doing this, this is how we're doing it. We're going for the topics of the week, including Norway and Lithuania, of course, the shows that just have ended. And then at the end of each segment, we will answer your questions. When you post your questions, at ESC United so we know that you're talking to us and not randomly to other people. And at the very end, we'll have an open Q&A where you can ask anything. If we miss your question, it's not because we don't like you. It's because, the chat goes, we're doing stuff, but we'll try to answer as many as humanly possible. With that said, I think let's delve right into it. Let's talk Eurovision. And as pointed out, we're going to start with the semifinal 2, heat 2, whatever you want to call it, in Norway. Just like the last week, four songs are battling it out or battled it out in this semifinal with two duels randomly selected and then the winner from each duel going to the golden duel, and then the winner of the golden duel would then move on to the actual finale, which is going to be happening in a few weeks from now. So let's talk about the first duel. Let's share our thoughts. And the first duel, as you can see on the screen, was Ketil Stokkan, My Life is Okay, and Daniel Owen, Psycho. So two songs randomly chosen, point out, had to battle it out. Sean, I'm going to throw it up to you first between those two songs. What are your thoughts of this duel?
I think it's quite clear it was a bit of a mismatch, really, wasn't it? Especially in 2021. Ketil, obviously, he's done Eurovision before. He did it in the 80s
Mm-hmm.
and 1990, I think. And when you listen to those tracks and My Life Is Okay, it's exactly the same. It's not really moved on. I thought it was quite a catchy song. And then I watched the performance, and it was, yeah, limp, lifeless. It was just strange. You compare that to Daniel's performance, and again, not the best example of its genre, but it was a good performance, well choreographed. Like the shoes, it was quite a sort of focal point for the performance, and yeah, it was only ever go one way, really. So I don't know if you agree, but that's my thoughts.
Yeah, so I did do a video before, and I like the reaction to the four entries that were chosen. And once again, just like last week, my number three and four were basically put in the same duel where the two better songs ended up in the
Yeah.
other duel. That's My Life. And yeah, so when I saw this, I'm like, I don't think there will be a whole lot of suspense that Daniel Owen would win this one. I will say Daniel Owen's
Shocker.
song was fine. I wasn't a favorite, but it definitely won me over a little bit more live. I do think they did a really good job. I still get a lot of Justin Timberlake vibe, but they found like this whole, the dance focusing on the shoes and feet thing, which was very visually fun. I still don't think the song was like amazingly powerful, but it was not bad either. So I do think that this one was the right winner. And did you know that Ketil Stokkan has been to Eurovision before?
Yeah, so like I said, he was. I think it was like 1986 and 1990. And when
Yes.
you
Oh, you
listen to
did say
them and
that.
you
Sorry.
listen to his
Yes.
entry, yeah,
Yes.
you listen to them and you listen to his entry now. It's what 30 odd years have passed, but nothing's really changed in his music according to this entry. So it's no real shock. Bit of a strange one, really. Why he was in it? I guess it's just one of those sort of throwback entries that you get every now and then. Sort of a legend of the contest comes back, but it was never going to get through in this duel. I don't think.
Now, I actually feel as his music got even more retro than what he had in
Yeah,
'86, it felt like '50s without any sort of modern touch.
yeah, a bit sort of rockabilly doo wop type genre. I think. Yeah,
Yes, but maybe there was a market for some, but I think the vast majority of people knew that this wasn't going anywhere. And we were right. The voters agreed with us. Daniel Owen moved on to the next round. No surprise, and that means we had to move on to the second duel, Raylee versus Maria Solheim. Raylee, hero. We've known her from last year with the song Wild, which she also made it through the semis, and Maria Solheim with a song in Norwegian, battling it out. Sean, once again, your thoughts on those two entries?
so if I had to discuss them really, again, it's a bit of a mismatch for me. I saw what you put on Twitter. I don't think you're going to agree with me here.
Oh dear.
But yeah, I think Raylee, as much as the song probably hasn't leveled up much from last year, I think as an artist, as a performer, and putting the package together, she's nailed it this year. I said in my review that I really wanted the performance to have like an '80s sort of pastiche retro feel, and
Mm-hmm.
it was exactly what I wanted from it. I think the water drop was really inspired, and I was surprised that she didn't electrocute herself doing that, but she must have got a good microphone.
Yeah,
And
that would
I
be kind
kind
of
of feel, I
sad.
kind of feel, I'll have my thoughts on the format of Melody Grand Prix this year in a bit anyway. But
Mm-hmm.
I just feel that she's so unfortunate that she had to do that twice, that she had to go through the same thing again, like a half an hour later. So
Was that the same?
uh,
Did you have to perform, or was it a recording of the first performance?
I saw the performances. I was watching Lithuania, but I'm sure she had to perform again.
I
I'm
thought they
I'm
just
pretty
reused the first performance because how did she
oh
get her hair
possibly
this dry and perfect
yeah
again in such
possibly
a short amount of time? I could be wrong. I'm not sure, but
yeah.
that was my opinion.
Compare it to Maria's entry. It's not really to my taste. I'm sure it's got its market. And I said that before that this would have an atmosphere to the performance at least, and I feel like she did capture that. But yeah, I think there was only one clear winner again in this one.
Yeah. Now, I mean, here's the thing. Yes, we may have different opinions. Maria Solheim's song is a very specific sound, and it is not for the masses. It's not mainstream enough. And it doesn't always have to be mainstream, but it's such a niche song that most people wouldn't get it. I totally didn't expect people to like it. I happen to have a soft spot for that kind of sound if done right. I feel always like in Melodifestivalen, those songs are often, of course, overlooked because, most people don't care for it. And I still would have voted for Raylee as well over that song, but I thought it was beautifully staged and I just thought it was charming. And I would have preferred a super duel between those two songs, not them having to face each other in the first duel. But Riley's performance, I was like, oh my god, she's going for an iconic '80s moment with the water.
Yeah,
Not flash mob, flash dance.
Flashdance. Yeah,
Flash dance, yes. So I think even those who haven't been around, I mean, most of us have been around. The movie came out what 1984. I don't even know. Um, it's still everyone knows of that scene. It is an iconic
yeah,
thing. So it was. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and Riley gave it her all. I mean, she was turning, moving, flipping hair left and right.
yeah.
She was doing a split. Wasn't she doing a split on the floor at some
Yeah,
point?
I mean, she's really come on leaps and bounds as a performer. You can tell that. I see some people in the chat said she did actually perform twice as well.
Oh, she did.
So,
Okay, I wasn't
yeah, fair
sure.
play to her for
So
turning it around so quickly.
I assumed that she was recorded, but the fact that she performed
Yeah,
it twice, even more amazing. you know.
yeah. And I don't think anyone's ever, qualified for something in a towel and a dressing gown before. So she's got another first there.
Yes, I was saying like it's funny that she wins this whole thing in a robe and a towel, just like the way that most of us were watching the performance. We felt
Yeah,
like we can relate. That was a pretty cool moment. I kind of already spoiled the outcome here with what I said, but I think everyone watching this knows the answer to this anyway. It came down to the duel between Raleigh and Hero, and Daniel, Owen, and Psycho. As pointed out, Raleigh once again, second year in a row, wins her um, semi, moving on to the finals. Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think everyone agrees it was like duh, right? Was it any?
Mm.
Do you think anyone would be should be surprised about
I
this?
think I think I think even before tonight, it was kind of clear in this semi-final. Maybe you knew who the top two were going to be, and I think you know how they're going to put the jewels to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that they are the top two. And it kind of this sort of brings me to my point that I wanted to make about this is that I just can't, for the life of me, understand, and it's not just with Norway, it's with other national finals. The whole sort of premise of having pre-qualified entries and duels and sort of stopping certain acts getting to certain levels,
Mm-hmm.
it just doesn't make sense to me. Um, like for example, the pre-qualifiers tonight, I'm Stavanger Camaratin. I thought I'd give it a go. It's a long name. But I watched their performance and I'm like, I'm sure they're probably popular in Norway, but I don't understand why certain acts get this free pass, basically. Um, I know in the situation of like the Roop, it's different, but just in general, it just seems odd to me that someone like Raylee has to go through this process when other acts that were here years before get straight to the final. Um, Especially when it ends up that in these duels, she's going to get through anyway. So it just seems like a pointless exercise.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that actually, and I agree. I said basically the same thing last week in the live stream, so I'm equally not confused. I don't agree with the whole pre-qualify, and some people who know better in the chat correct me if I'm wrong, but I recall reading that only the songs that pre-qualified have to be full Norwegian songwriters. So if you have international songwriting team or at least partially international songwriting team, you have to go through a semi. Because well, people say, well, Riley should have been a direct qualifier. Why isn't she going through? She proved
Mm.
herself this time around last year, and she has to do it again. And that is what I'm being told is what's happening. They want to put a little bit more of, want to give local songwriters a little bit more of a chance to shine as well. I get
Okay,
that
but
though.
I still don't understand that really. If you're going to allow foreign songwriters in, don't penalise them. If they want to enter your national final and you're going to let them enter the national final, let them, put everyone in the same bracket. Everyone's in semi-finals and they've got to get there somehow. It just makes it fairer.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents on it, but it just doesn't make sense to me. I can get wanting to promote local, talent, but
I
yeah,
was just
it
being
just seems
told
odd.
that. I haven't really confirmed that yet. So if someone
Yeah.
says you're wrong, Matt, yell at me. I'm just saying this is what I've heard. I didn't look into that. It just came up in the dialogue. But yeah, I agree. I think we both agree that the song that was put forward as a direct qualifier, they're capable singers, obviously. So
Mm.
that's not a question. But the song itself was kind of like, okay.
Yeah, it was all a bit Lighthouse X, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah, I remembered like last year, Didrik Solheim from who represented Norway in 2010 also was pre-qualified with the song. I was like, I don't quite get why this one went directly, but it's just how it goes. Okay, so
Yeah.
any questions you have about Norway or thoughts at ESC United in the chat, and yeah, I'm going to read some of them. Collins Almost Safer says, I'm not a fan of the format up for MGP. They should go back to the old format. Sean, besides what we just mentioned, the pre qualified situation, do you like the concept of having these semis and the new
Well,
system?
I don't have a problem with the semi-final thing because I think if you're going to have a big selection, you need them.
Mm-hmm.
If you mean the duels, I think it leaves itself open to not rigging. That's the wrong word,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean. They can sort of the producers can create the result that they want, basically. And it's a TV show. At the end of the day, this is a TV show for Norway. So they want to create the best product. So I can understand it. But just as a competition, it just doesn't seem fair. And I think it's the same when you look at, Melody Festival, and they've been doing it for years. Um, and I think it can create an anti-vote as well. If you've got two songs and two songs only against each other,
Hmm.
you can vote against a song, and that just seems wrong to me. So um, I think if you're going to have a big selection, have everyone on the same level playing field, and I've always felt that, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm
Every
not
time.
I'm not in TV production, so obviously, yeah, they know better than me.
That's always the danger when you do duels, is that you have the anti-vote. And always Lorraine in 2016, 17, I forgot what year she returned to Melody Festivalen, which everyone thought is going to potentially win. And then the second
Mm,
chance round, there was a big anti-vote against her that just voted for the other song. I'm not saying some people voted for the other song. I'm sure they are. But there was a
mm,
big issue with people going against Lorraine, and then she was voted out. If they would
yeah.
have had like a regular, you just vote for your favorite song between like a group of songs, that would have
Or even
potentially be a different story.
or even if you have to have that format, have it at least three songs.
Yes.
Because you can't anti-vote when there's three songs because you'll split the vote. So
Mm-hmm.
that solves it immediately. But yeah, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Just a couple more questions. Alexander is asking you, Sean, what did you think of Jorn from last week?
I think if he'd have been in this week's heat, he would have had a good chance. Maybe Riley would have still won. But I feel like in a dual format, he would have had a good chance. I think it was a good performance, different, especially for Eurovision.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think he's quite well known in Norway as well. So again,
Yeah, he's very
you could
experienced.
see, yeah, if they're going to do the pre-qualifiers thing, why not give him the shot and have a rock song in the final, guaranteed, rather than because I've seen people in the chat saying they want to get diversity in the final and make sure there's different songs, but that sort of goes against it for me. But yeah, no, it's a good performance. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Shame he's out, but I think the right song won last week anyway. So
Yeah. Well, with a caveat though that it's out because there is still like a wild card show
yeah,
coming out, so they still could qualify. And that's the one more question I'm gonna throw out there. Who do you think, as of right now, Sean, out of the first two shows, has the biggest chance to win a second chance final round? Question by Simon.
probably Daniel Owen so far.
You think so?
Yeah, I just feel like it's a solid pop song that people like, um, and it's a show, and it's kind of what voters go for, I guess. So I feel like it'll be sort of the unlucky loser at the moment. I could be wrong.
Yeah, of course you
We
could be
don't know
wrong. That
what's
was
to
your
come. There could
opinion.
be
It
something
was not
amazing.
like it's not
Yeah.
scientifically proven. I get that part. I still stick with Jorn. I do think that he was number one, had the tougher duel to begin with, because the
Mm,
best two songs I think were in the same duel, and it was just a much stronger semi. But so out of the songs that I've seen so far, out of the six eliminated, or like temporarily eliminated, I think this one just has a biggest grower factor as well because people have now gotten to know it, and I think people maybe warm
mm.
up to it as well. And when they get to vote for it again, I think there's a good chance that they're gonna go through. Granted, we don't know exactly what's going to happen with the semi three and four and all
Yeah.
of that, but this is just my feeling.
I
So
think a lot of people agree with you in the chat looking at this
about Jordan,
about John being the wild card.
yeah, I think right now he's the one to beat.
Mm,
Um, Again, there's more competition to come, so ask me again in 3 weeks. So this is Norway's outcome. Again, if people, and I agree with the sentiment, it wasn't quite as strong as last week's semi, and I don't think that the winners in this one, but I think Raleigh really stepped up, and her live performance really made this a lot of fun. So let's move on. Let's talk Lithuania. Sean, I'm going to put you on the spot. Say the name of the national final.
Pabandom ish Naujo or
Okay, we'll go with
Naujo.
that. Yeah, because I'm usually the one butchering it, so I figured, why can't you butcher it just for once?
Yeah.
So that was the second heat that we're going through in Lithuania. And I didn't have time actually to upload the scores, but the show, 10 songs, battle it out, 50% jury vote, 50% televote. And then the top five overall combined would then move on to the semifinals. Because it's not the semifinal grand final, they're going to have two heats. This was the second one. And then we're going to have a semifinal. And then the semifinals then will move on to the final. And 10 songs aside, battle it out. We also had the direct qualifier, the Roop, perform at the end of the show, basically. They are directly qualified for the finals. The reasons for that, in case you don't know, is they were selected last year to represent Lithuania with On Fire. Eurovision 2020 did not happen, and therefore they said, well, the least we can do is give you a direct spot in the finals. We're going to talk about that song in just a moment as well. But let's go, not go for each song in Lithuania, but let's just talk about the show. And Sean, I'll let you go first. What did you think of the 10 songs in general? And then feel free to point out songs that stood out to you.
Um, First of all, Lithuanian shows take so long. They talk so much, and the ad breaks are just ridiculous. But that's by the by. I think it was. I said to you before we came on this. It was there was a lot of sort of solid 6 out of 10s across the board. Nothing too much that really stood out massively. Um, but I think the overall level in Lithuania over the last couple of years has been a lot higher. Um, in general. I think they've really stepped up the game. Obviously, it's proven by last year because they had one of the strongest national finals. There were two songs that really stood out to me, and I'm glad that they're through. Um, I'm going to try the names Gabrasi
Mm-hmm.
and Evita Kololo. The two of them really stood out for me, especially Gabrasi. I think he won the heat quite convincingly by the looks of it, and it's kind of very weakly like arcade, but
Mm.
it's a very it's sort of like an indie poppy ballad. It's hard to describe, I think, and it's sort of from a first impression, but it was really well done, really well produced, and the staging for it was quite nice as well. Um, Vita's song, it reminded me a bit of like a vaporwave ballad, which was cool. It's very unusual. So yeah, I think between them two, they were the standouts for me. But yeah, a pretty well done show overall. I think the right songs went through. So
Okay, so Sean mostly agrees with the show, out the show's outcome, I should say. I will
mm.
say I listened to 9 out of the 10 songs. I missed one song because I think something happened in Norway, and then I forgot to turn on the sound for one of the songs. I'm like, darn it! I tried so hard. I'm usually really good at it. You would think by now that I can watch 7 shows at the same time. But for some reason, with getting ready for this one, I missed it. But I will say, I always try not to be rude, and I frequently fail at that. I just had maybe it was the sounds that they used the sound system, but I thought vocally there were so many bad performances. I was like, eek. It just didn't sound right most of the time, and maybe it's just not my kind of music that they put forward. But I started making notes from my first song, then second one by song four. I'm like, why am I bothering? It's just I'm like, it's just very
It wasn't a
less
strong
than
start. I'll
flattering.
give you that.
Yes, and I was getting more and more like frustrated with it. That we had, and I like that they're not all like polished, right? Some of them felt very
Mm.
raw, and it felt like anyone, just can't perform in Lithuania's national final. It seemed to be a little more of a raw feel to it. I just have a very hard time connecting with the music that they put forward. And as you pointed out, Gebrasi won the
Mm.
jury and the public vote, and therefore number one in this semi. And that is the song I missed. I'm like, darn it, why is the one that song that won is the one I had to miss? So I cannot really comment on that one. Maybe potentially that was the saving grace, but all of the other songs were not quite as. I just wasn't impressed, unfortunately, and I was disappointed because I was kind of rooting for Sunday afternoon. It's in case you didn't know, the singer Vilia, I think you pronounce her name, represented
Mm.
Lithuania in 2014, and I always have a soft spot for returnees. It's just human nature, I guess, because we know them. But
Yeah.
I was like, oh gosh, that made Attention look like a masterpiece, I thought. So yeah, I was not thrilled with the 10 songs in the running. And so I was kind of like, bummer. I was hoping that because last week wasn't that great either, in my view, um, that it would get a little better. My personal favorite, I did find a favorite. It was actually the last song of the night, Gabrielos Vangelis with My Guy. I thought it was melodically probably a little better. And finished in second place, I think, overall. Second with the juries, fourth with the public, overall second place. So I guess that is not too bad. That is the one that stood out to me the most. Maybe it was because also it was the last one. That's why it was stuck in my head. I don't know, but it probably was my favorite. Um, so five of these songs are through. Number five, six, eight, nine, and 10. The song Home, Man in Need, Where You Gonna Go, Something in Lithuanian, Be
Go on, go
Pasla,
on.
and My Guy. Um, and then after these 10 songs have performed, we moved on to The Roop, and they have a new song called Discotheque. And we'll try our best, or maybe we're not trying our best, to not judge the song on its own merits, but, you know, you can't help it because The Roop went viral last year with this song on fire, so people will draw comparison. But Sean, talk to me. What do you think? How did they
um,
do?
I think it's everything that we wanted, really. I think they've done really well this year to not make a carbon copy, because that was my worry, is that they would just make On Fire 2, and it would just not work. But they've done something slightly different this year, but it's still got that same quality, that same sort of viral ability, I guess. And it's a well polished performance, and it's really catchy. It's really really catchy. Like, it's still stuck in my head now, even talking about different songs. When I first heard it, I wasn't really too convinced on the first impression, but I think it's one of them where you have to see it, and I give it the benefit of the doubt. And when you see the video and you see the performance, you go, yeah, they've mastered their craft, as it were. And I think it was leaps and bounds above anything that we saw tonight, to be honest with you. I haven't seen last week's songs, so I can't say if
Uh,
it's the best one that they've got in Lithuania, but I think that so far it's going to be a struggle to see anything touching them.
yeah. It was interesting because it felt as you're right, it is not a carbon copy of On Fire, but I felt like they still tried to pay homage to On
Mm,
Fire with the little da 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 and the dance. They didn't overdo it. They just had these little moments like, hey, don't forget us, from last year.
yeah.
So I thought it was neat the way they packaged that. I didn't listen to the song until tonight. It was the first time I listened to it. I try to stay away from too many opinions on Twitter until I've listened to the song, but sometimes you can't help it. You see all these posts from people talking about, oh, On Fire is better, da da da, Discotheque is okay, but da da da, right? So I'm like, okay, ignore it, just focus on the song. And I wasn't pleasantly surprised. I was actually quite, no, not quite, I was very impressed. I love that song, and I did a reaction as well that'll be out later tonight or first thing tomorrow to the song. And I thought it was clever. Yes, it has all the ingredients to become a viral success again. It felt a little darker. It had a little less of it. Oh, it still had an 80s feel to it, but it was different because last year's On Fire had a little bit of an erasure feel to it. This one has a different vibe to it. I still love it though. And I love the choreography. I love the outfits. And I forgot the lead singer's name, but there's a certain charisma that he has, a
Mm,
very unique stage presence. And he
yeah.
just sucks you in and you want to pay attention. And I thought that this was amazing. And again, I don't want to always sound like the mean guy, but I will do it anyway. It feels to me, and don't get mad, peeps. It feels to me that they deliberately chose a weak lineup for the semis to give it to the Roop, because there's just no competition. There's just zero competition for them. If they don't win, then something is wrong in Lithuania. And I know some people will say, I like this song better. I get that. There'll always be that. But just looking at it, I just don't see any single song that could beat the Roop at this point. I would be
Do you
flabbergasted. Go ahead.
Could I interject then? Do you think, because I've seen, I think I saw somewhere on Twitter earlier that discotheque is like breaking records already. in
Is it?
Lithuania. Like Spotify streaming is like so far ahead of everything else in Lithuania at the minute, including songs from wherever else in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that that's what they've done, that they have made it weaker, or do you just think that the Roop at the minute are just that far ahead of the game in terms of the artists that will enter the selection to go to Eurovision?
It's a hard question to answer because I don't know really the Lithuanian feel. It could be that it could be a little bit of a hype, that there was definitely a push because it's Roop and they have an international name now that helped them already to get like a little push, kind of like Kaino. I'm not taking anything away from Kaino, but there was
Mm.
an immediate fan favorite before the song has even been released. So I think that could play a factor. But I just think that on its own merit, it just works. I don't think there was as much thinking about why, how, when. I think the song is just good on its own merit. And yes, us Eurovision fans, you, me, you folks in the chat, or people watching the video at a later point, we always think of On Fire, and we draw parallels a little. 99.9% of the people watching Eurovision, maybe a little less this time because, On Fire went a little viral, but most people will not make the association with On Fire when they watch it. So this will be judged just as the song Discotheque. And I think it'll do really, really well and could potentially be Lithuania's second top 10 result. I don't know the competition yet, but if there's a song that has potential, I think Discotheque would be the one. So I'm not trying to overthink it. I think you make a valid point, but I just think the song is good. I don't think anything else, and people just liked it. That's just all I'm thinking. So let's answer a few questions about Lithuania that people have in the chat at ESC United. Make sure to post that. Stephen Candle is saying if Lithuania doesn't pick up the Roop, is because it don't want to host Eurovision like in the Netflix movie. Oh, like Iceland. I can see. I hope there will be no murder and ships being blown up.
Yeah,
Um,
no boat parties, Lithuania. We don't want
yeah,
that.
no boat parties, no little elves. They may go too far again. But that's fine. I don't see. The thing is, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sean. That countries should overthink about. Oh, we have to host it. We cannot afford it because each broadcaster can say, "I'm good. We're not going to host it."
Mm.
Right? What?
I don't think I could be wrong, but I think if you're a country like Lithuania, it should be all your Christmases come at once if you host it because it's such an opportunity for
Massive.
countries not to sort of talk down Lithuania, but they're in Eastern Europe. They're not they're not the first thought on the tourist destination, are they? So it's a real opportunity for them if they were to host it, say compared to a France or Germany. So I don't really sort of buy that argument that maybe the finances could come into play, especially after what everything that's going on at the minute. But I just feel like that's not going to stop them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, that makes perfect sense. Connor Wells is also saying, I'm really questioning why the Roop wasn't internally selected by Lithuania. Because, I mean, I said it before, I want everyone that was selected last year to come back because just from a fan's perspective or just pity perspective, I feel bad for everyone that didn't get to go this time around. We have now more than half of the acts that were set to represent their country at Eurovision are returning. I'm going to talk about
mm.
that in a moment as well, so that is good. So I hear you on that. I feel like, yeah, maybe they should have been selected anyway. Um, are you able to do the finger dance in discotheque? First of all, I hate that name, finger dance. That sounds kind of inappropriate. And I think I did it earlier, this thing or something like that. I always looked like a chicken.
No, I think the mean where they do like the
Oh, that one.
split.
Oh yeah, no,
Not really.
I
I
can do
can't.
Spock, but even then I'm
Yeah,
struggling with that.
that's about it. I can do it better on that hand for some reason. There we are.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. So yeah, but I don't know. I mean, that I don't know why they didn't choose them internally. They probably wanted to because ratings. These shows bring in numbers. That's why they
Money.
yeah, they had like 58 shows in previous years. Yes, they cut it down a little, but there's a reason because actually people watch it. It's kind of weird to me, Sean. Not weird in a rude way, but unusual, I should say. It's a better word. That when you watch the televote results, the televote winner got 858 votes. It's just like a
Mm.
weird number,
Is that actual numbers then?
Well, that's what it says online when the results came in. It says
Yeah.
868 votes for Gebrasi, And in second place, Norbertas with 587, unless this number represents something else, but I don't think it does. And that is
Lithuania,
just an odd thing, right? I'm
strange
calling
ways. So
five
it could be.
times, and I could
Yeah.
potentially choose the winner. So that is very fascinating to me. So
Yeah.
a lot of questions that I see in the chat are about, Lithuania should have just done an internal selection. Um, Now, next week, just as a reminder, we'll have a semifinal where 5 songs will be battling it out, and then some of them will join the Roop in the finals, and then they will battle it out so that one of the songs, I don't know who, is going to represent Lithuania at the Eurovision Song Contest 2021 in
Stranger things
Rotterdam.
have happened. You never
That
know.
is the thing. It's a
Yeah.
thing. I'm setting myself up to have like a draw drop moment, which makes for a good reaction video, but makes
Mm.
for a very disappointing match. So we have to wait and see how that's all going to pan out. So you never know what's going to happen. We have seen so many shockers and surprises at Eurovision. But yeah, at this point, I would be. I don't know. I mean, in German, we have that expression, I'll eat a broom if he doesn't win. All the Germans will get what I'm saying. So
Yeah. I'll eat my hat, I think,
I'll eat my hat, yes.
generally. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you for that. We've got super chat, so thank you for that.
Thank you,
Rye
Ryan
Mapper.
Mapper. I'm a simple fan. Matt streams. You're not simple. No such thing as simple or basic. But I appreciate the support. Thank you. So yeah, this is what's happening with Lithuania. Make sure to be back next week for I think next week on the 30th. Yes, it's next week for the semifinals. Maybe some of the songs will grow on me. We'll see. I know I sounded harsh, so I apologize. It's just my initial reaction was just so disappointed because honestly, I want Lithuania to win the contest with the group. Who knows? Could happen because I already have my not Baltic vacation and Helsinki vacation planned. I have everything in place. I just need a reason to go, rather because I cannot travel to Europe all the time,
Or the ability.
or the ability exactly because
Yeah.
I'm on the other side of the world. So this would help tremendously if like Finland or Lithuania could win this for me. Thank you very much. So yeah, screw the best song. I just want my travel plans kind of be lined up for this. So yeah, that is Lithuania. So reminder at the end, we're going to answer a few more questions. Let's go for some of the news of the week. Sean, do you want to give us an update on the current status with Eurovision 21? Is it happening? I mean, we know it's happening or not, but just what happened over the past week in terms of what has changed or has given to us.
So yeah, I mean, it's happening. How it's working? Yes, no, maybe. I don't know. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, the reports are, I believe, that all of the scenarios are still on the table, which I can understand because they want to keep their options open. I mean, I think it was reported earlier in the week, Sietzibaka, I hope I've said his name right. He said in a local interview in a newspaper, they are still looking at having all 4 options open to them. I think if we're going to be realistic about stuff, we all expect it to be either C or D. Um, but you never know. And I think it's quite interesting that I think it was yesterday it was reported that a decision on the audience might not be made until mid-April, which to me seems incredibly late to try and make plans. I get that they want to leave it as long as possible, but it's not easy to get up and go to Eurovision, is it? You and I both know it takes a lot of planning. If you're going to be there for the 2 weeks, it takes a lot of planning. So I think that's quite interesting, but I guess they want to hold out hope as long as possible. I saw as well the decision on the scenario may depend on the UK variant. So that's the UK
Thanks a
ruining another
lot, UK
Eurovision for
again.
me, probably. Yeah. If we're not finishing last, we're cancelling the whole thing. So,
I know.
yeah, we'll see. The less I say on that subject, the better, I think. So, yeah, I'll hand it back over to you. But that's where we're at the moment. We have no news.
Yeah.
Hope that helps.
So I mean, there are updates coming in here and there, but everything is like a TBD. What is going on? Could be scenario A, could be scenario D. Sean, you mentioned it's more likely that's going to be C or D. I realistically don't see A happening. I
Mm,
could see a potential B happening. And keep in mind, B and C are not that different. The difference between B and C is scenario B. Every single delegation and country will travel to Rotterdam to perform live on the
yeah,
stage. While in C, they have the option they can either travel to Rotterdam or they record it at home, which all the countries have to do anyway, as just as a prep, as a just in case scenario. But they can actually then stay home and do the broadcast from there. Everything else will basically stay the same. So, as you pointed out, scenario could change, especially with the. We may make a decision at the very end about the crowd, and you are right. Planning Eurovision is not easy, especially if all the hotels are taken and tickets. But keep in mind, I think that they will then focus. They want to have as many people in there as well, and even if it's a last minute kind of thing, okay, we're going to fill up. I don't think they're going to have a problem finding local people to
no, no.
fill up
So
the
for Dutch,
arena.
I think Dutch audience is probably going to be the way to go if it goes with scenario B. I think
Yeah,
that's just how it's going to be.
yeah, I think so
But
too.
yeah, I think it's worth keeping in mind as well that the reason they want to hold off on the decisions is because they're focusing on getting all of the artists to Rotterdam. That's their primary focus, is to make sure that where possible, every single artist will be there. So I can understand that maybe the decision on the audience takes a back seat because of that. But yeah, it's still not an ideal situation. But you know, the whole situation around the pandemic at the moment, it is always changing. So, who'd want to organise something now?
Yep. No, yeah, absolutely right. I want to make a point and I forgot about it. But yeah, that's a priority. You are correct. And I know some people have been asking about what are we going to do. For us, we don't know whether or not we're going to Eurovision. We don't know if the press can travel and how many press, if any, access we will get. So we don't know. We are on standby. We pay attention, but I think both of us are prepared for the worst, but hoping for the best kind of situation. And we may not be there. We may be there. We don't know yet. So the next 3 weeks or so will be probably the most telling one because I think they have to make a decision by mid late February anyway. Even though the audience situation could change, but I think for the artists' sakes, I think they have to make a call sooner than later because logistically it would be a nightmare if they wait until the last minute as
Yeah,
well. So let's see some questions at ESC United in the chat in terms of hosting. Make sure if you want to ask questions. Shannon says no news is good news, but C or D most likely. So Shannon kind of sees eye to eye with Sean on that. Um, no news is good news. I'm more of a realist. I'm thinking no news is bad news in this case because if they felt confident, like I think we'll be able to go, would be more preferred. I think they just don't want to, um, get our hopes up at this point. I think
yeah.
that's what it is.
I don't think they want to backtrack on a decision, so they don't want to go in too early. So I can totally get that.
Yeah.
But they've got to be careful with when they make the decision. It was March last year. We were in the height of everything, admittedly. But I think March was about the right time to make a decision like that. So
Yeah.
whether it's mid Feb, end of Feb, start of March, that's probably when we're going to know a bit more.
Yeah. Kian is asking, what about an outdoor concert for Eurovision? Um, Outdoor concert for Eurovision would be very virtually impossible. It has to be indoor. It always has been that way. Not because for tradition purposes, but you are so heavily relying on weather, cold,
Mm. And
rain,
I think
anything.
acoustically it doesn't help either. If you want everyone on a level playing field, um, you've got more control over everything when it's indoors. So I don't think they'd want to go for that. I
Yeah.
think the situation they've got set up, if it's anything like Junior Eurovision back in November, I think it's the best they can really plan for at the moment.
Yes. And keep in mind, not having a roof limits also the technology, the camera work, and all of that stuff that they have the effects. Yes, you can say it's not as needed, but it is very difficult because the main focus will be the TV experience.
Mm.
And that is the most important thing. If they have an open venue kind of situation, it would really make it hard for cameramen, lighting people, and all of that, and the sound people, as you pointed out, Sean, to put forward a really good show. And that is their priority. Make it an enjoyable experience for the viewers, people traveling there. They want there as many people as possible, but it takes a backseat to the actual TV show, which it is in the
Mm.
end a TV show. And so it's definitely what they're going for. So yeah, this is basically what I'm seeing here. Let's see, one more question, Alex. Oops, I lost you. Where are you, Alexander? Isn't scenario C the same as scenario B, just with some artists singing from home pre-recorded? Yes, I mentioned earlier that's exactly the situation. B and C are close, but that kind of stuff could have a big impact on press alone or on just people going. If you have, let's say, half of the countries not going, the fans may not be as interested in going. If Denmark decided we're staying home, it's going to be less interest maybe for Danish people to travel. There's always a little bit, the home advantage, excitement, or whatever you want to call it. Spain stays from home. A lot of Spanish fans will not go. So it has effects further down the line. But
Mm.
yes, that's what I'm saying. I think what I'm guessing right now, so don't quote me on it. I feel as the EBU and the Dutch broadcaster are heavily trying to make scenario B happening. I think that is what their hope is. A would be fantastic, but I
Mm.
think realistically, I think they're just trying to make sure that the delegations and the acts can go to Eurovision. Everything else is secondary. I think you pointed that out earlier as well. So yeah, those are is the update on the current hosting situation. We'll keep you up to date on that as well. I'm sure every week there will be a few bits and pieces here, but just hang on tight, fingers and toes crossed. The most important thing is that Eurovision is going to happen. With or without us, with people or without people traveling, we will have a TV show. But yes, it's not going to be the same. It's going to be a different feel. Although, did you like, I mean, not talking about the music, Sean, did you like the feel of Junior Eurovision considering how it was put together and the circumstances they
Um,
found themselves in?
I feel like they did a really good job considering everything that went on. I was quite pleasantly surprised. I actually wrote an article, an editorial about it, hinting that this could be the sort of not the future of Eurovision, but for now, they've proved to themselves that they can put on a show in this
Mm-hmm.
situation, and I think they'll take a lot of heart from that, especially. Um, I think just I've seen people saying, "Oh, couldn't they have done this last year?" But everything was so new, and no one knew what was happening. There's no way they could have pulled it together so soon.
Yeah, they had less than two
Um,
months to put it
I
together too.
Yeah, and I think credit to them for what they actually put together. In the end, anyway. But yeah, I think it was good that they had Junior Eurovision to sort of act as like a test run, and I think it was very successful. So yeah, I think they'll take a lot of heart from that.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you said. So more to come on that. Let's take a look at also what has happened in terms of selection process. Do we have new acts? I think there's been one that has been announced this past week. Sean, what do we have?
Well, you say new act,
Yeah.
yes and no. So Vasil is back for North Macedonia, which I'm pleased about, very pleased about, because his song was one of my favourites last year. If it's anything like that, I'm going to be made up. I know it wasn't to everyone's taste, but he's one of the acts who you can tell that he loves Eurovision. He loved having the opportunity last year to go. So I think it's going to mean more to him than a lot of other acts to be able to go and still have his moment. So we don't know what's going to happen about the song yet, obviously, because everything's still fresh. But at least he's going. So that's another act. Personally, you might not agree with me. I'm just waiting for Little Big now. I really, really hope that they're going to be back, but we don't know anything about Russia yet. So fingers crossed.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I would love for them to come back as well. As
Yeah.
far as Vasil is concerned, I'm happy once again that he gets to come back because I want everyone to return. It has always been my thing. We don't know much about the song yet. He is a big fan of the contest. He was just so happy when he was the backup singer in 2019 for North
Yeah.
Macedonia. Best result ever for them. So, and I'm glad to because the song "You" right? What's it called? Um,
Yeah.
it was like lackluster in the betting odds, fan polls, but you were a big fan of it, right? I remember that
Mm.
as you pointed out. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's one of those songs that just I like, and I just have no explanation for it, but everyone else hates, and that's my taste. It's most of my favorites end up coming last anyway. So, um, yeah, sorry, I've noticed in the chat people are going mad because I didn't mention James Newman. I would like James back as well, but I feel like for him, the song that he had didn't really showcase the best of him. So, I think he's done some tracks with like Armin van Buuren and some dance tracks.
Mm-hmm.
If he did something like that for the UK, I would be made up. So yeah, fingers crossed that that happens as well. But knowing the BBC, we're not going to know for another few months.
Yeah, they're always last minute. We're probably gonna find out in March again, like right
Yeah,
before the deadline. Yeah, I mean, yes, and we're gonna jump over into general questions as well. I'm stoked that Basil is returning. He absolutely deserved it, and he's a good singer. He's like a classically trained singer, I think, and he's a good dancer. He's talented, and North Macedonia, I don't want to say they're on a roll because they got one good result, but I feel as they tasted blood, and they're like, we can do really well at the contest if we
yeah,
send good music. So maybe they've learned from last year's effort, and again, would suck for Sean because he loved it, but in terms of like overall popularity, maybe they're going with something else. I was in the middle about that song. I didn't dislike it. And I think I liked it better the more I listened to it. It's a pleasant song for it to be on. I just was, I guess, waiting for a little bit more of the spark there. But it was still a very well executed song. And I had a feeling that even though North Macedonia is known for butchering the staging, again, we make 2019 the exception. I felt as they could have done a whole lot with that as well, the way it looked, because this has stage potential. That is, I guess, what my point is. So yeah, this is the main update as far as artists are concerned. We didn't get any other names. We got a few updates that Australia Montaigne said she has selected her song internally. So she feels like she has a song that she wants to send. I think Romania, Roxanne said the same thing. They're all already slowly approaching.
yeah,
We have it now. They got it recorded and orchestrated and yada yada yada. So they're all working on it. We're gonna get a bunch of songs as usual, but especially this year closer to the deadline.
1 week
Yeah,
in
it's like the
March.
second week
Yeah,
in March. It's like boom, 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 boom,
yeah,
and unlike Azerbaijan, they just said we're gonna have our deadline in February. So they're still having songs coming in over the next week or so. So they haven't started the selection process as far as like narrowing it down to the list of contenders. So they're a little bit behind as well. I mean, not behind, as long as they send a song by the due date, who cares, right? They can do whatever they want. So we'll get
yeah.
more on that later. Those are the updates on what's happening in the Eurovision world and who is going. Still plenty of names out there, plenty of national finals haven't even started yet. So enjoy the next month and a half or something like that. That's along the national final season, at least, is still going on until like March 10th or something like that. I forgot the exact date is when the deadline's coming.
Yeah.
So we got good music and some bad music coming our way. But that's why we love Eurovision. That's why we love Eurovision. And now, let's just spend a few minutes, if you have a few extra minutes, Sean, on general questions. People love the open
I've
Q
I've always got time for
and A.
questions.
At ESC United, make sure to put that out there so we know that you are talking to us. And um,
Can I just jump
yes,
straight in with one that I've seen from Solming? She's asked about my
that's
UMK
Finland.
ranking. I don't have a ranking, yeah, but I think it is worth pointing out while we're going over the week that there is a lot of hype over one particular song in Finland. I don't know
Yeah,
if you've heard. Yeah, Blind Channel. I have to say that so far is one of the best songs I've heard anywhere so far this year. I think it's really well produced. It's just really energetic, and it's going to galvanize a lot of people, and it's so different. And I'm not saying I haven't heard all the songs. I'm going to be honest in Finland, so I'm not going to say that it's my favorite. But at the moment, it definitely is, and I think it's quite interesting to see what
yeah.
happens over there. So. I don't know whether you have a different opinion,
Um,
but
I can't tell you right now, only because I just uploaded my reaction and top seven video a few hours ago. So I don't want to spoil it for
oh,
those who haven't seen it yet in the chat.
well, go watch that when this is
Yes,
over. Then
watch
go
that
watch
when
that.
this is over and you know who my favorites are. But I can say I agree with what you said about Dark Side. I think it
Yeah.
is amazing. And I can say in my video, you will see I'm struggling with my top two. And I'm going to say that to you, Sean, and your taste often differs than from normal people. But the I
Normal
was trying to get a
people.
reaction. There was a see the slight delay there. Seriously, from like mainstream, I'm saying is
Yeah.
that I thought it was the best national final this year so far. I mean, we still have plenty of to come, but I thought it was an amazing selection. Amazing, amazing. And my top two, I struggled so hard. I'm going back and forth, and actually now I said earlier I'm probably go back on it and want to switch my top two. If you watch the video, you know what I'm talking about. But tomorrow I may change again. I think there are just two songs to me that stood out so much, and I wish Finland could send two songs, and that's how strong I feel about them. So yeah, but watch the video, and I'm more than happy to talk in more detail about that as well soon. Sean, do you have any other questions? My mouse is not working.
um, I think there's a couple of questions about France. What we think about the French selection. Um, I'm going to be honest. I'm terrible with the names in France, but I think it's going to sound harsh, but whatever they pick is going to be an improvement on last year, from what I've listened
You
to.
mean last year the
So,
song, the canceled one, or the actual
yeah,
Eurovision that happened?
yeah, the Best in Me or whatever it was called from last
Okay,
2020. Yeah.
you are the best
So
in me.
yeah, France go nuts. Probably Pony
Yeah, I
X
mean,
for me
France was probably
if I
one of the
had to pick.
least favorite entries last year. Not mine, I'm talking about me, but in general terms, like betting odds, fan polls, it's
Yeah,
like there were hardly any supporters of that song. So I guess, as you said, it can only go up. I've listened to the songs. There is a reaction video out there. It's been now a few weeks, so I can at least, point that out. I agree with the masses here on the best song. I think there's only one song that should go to Eurovision. And I know it's not for everyone, but there's only one song where France could really make a difference, and that is Barbara Pravi. Voila. Gotta be. It's gotta be voila.
yeah.
I mean, that's not competition.
I think it's the obvious choice. I can appreciate it. It's not to my taste. Let's put it that way. I
That's
respect
exactly
it.
what it is. It's not for everyone. It reminds me a little bit of the old
Yeah,
chanson Eurovision sound that like Patricia Kaas
yeah,
2009. It could have a similar impact. I can see it go really far with the juries and just
yeah.
lackluster maybe with the televoters unless they're emotionally connected with kind of like what they did in 2017 with Portugal. You never know. But I hear
Mm.
what you're saying. I know this may not be for everyone.
Yeah, I know it's a quality song.
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong. It's just you know, like you said, my taste isn't like
Yeah.
normal people. So
Um, what do you think is a good song but with a bad staging? Have you listened to a song that you like but you were not impressed with the staging? We haven't seen that many
um,
stagings yet, right?
there's not many that have stagings at the moment. So I think Ketil today was really really bad staging, but it wasn't really a great
Yeah.
song either. It was just yeah, that was probably the worst I've seen so far. Um, Other than that, nothing really leaps
I
to
know,
mind at the
because
moment.
we had
I think
Norway and
I
Lithuania so
think the
far, and
Roop are
that's
one
it.
that
So,
yeah, I think Roop are the ones that have the staging makes the song a bit more, but it is a good song anyway. Just to sort of flip it on its head, but yeah, nothing really leaps
yeah,
out at the
I
moment.
agree. I haven't seen a song that I like that butchered the staging yet. It'll happen. Don't worry. It's gonna happen.
Yeah,
Ask me again in a month from now, and I'm probably have to give you 15 examples. But for right now,
yeah.
no, I don't have any. Let's see here. Which country's entry are you most looking forward to? ESC Laura is asking. What do you think? I'm gonna go first since you're thinking,
Ooh,
and I don't want to hurt yourself. I am actually currently, I mean, this is personal bias because, that's my home country, Germany, because it was so popular last year with the masses. It's a tough act to follow. And Germany, more often, Germany is so the extremes. They either incredibly suck or they do incredibly well. There's
mm,
very little middle room. Like, they're like, we don't do 12th place. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, they do this or we do this. Like there's not a
Yeah,
whole lot of middle room. They don't do a France, which they're just like all in or all out, and more often they're at the
yeah.
bottom.
I think yeah, Germany's one of them. UK
Yeah.
for obvious reasons. Russia,
Mm-hmm.
San Marino, just because there's such at the moment unknown quantities, and one way or another there's going to be a reaction. Azerbaijan for a similar reason. Um, and just I'd like to see what Melody Festivalen's like this year. Just as always, because we don't know yet, and there's a lot of acts that are proven or high quality this year. So it's going to be a bit of a bloodbath, I
Yeah.
think.
And every year for the past knows how long, I've been thinking, is this going to be the year where Italy sucks? Not that I want them to suck, but I'm sick and tired of them being one of my favorites every single year. I'm like, can others? They're
Yeah,
just bringing quality every single year. So my point is, I'm looking forward to Italy and see if they can keep that very, very, very high bar, keep it up
yeah.
there.
Well, something to mention with Italy that could be quite interesting, throw a bit of spanner in the works. Obviously, I think at the moment Italy has announced another
Mm-hmm.
lockdown or restrictions. So RAI are having emergency meetings about San Remo. One of the options is to push it back to April,
It's
which could mean that Italy end up going with an internal
yeah.
selection for Eurovision. So Italy could be a really unknown. It could be Diodato. You never know at the moment. It depends what option they go for, whether they go for the cruise ship option, whatever that is, or anything else. But yeah, Italy's another sort of unknown
That's
quantity
just the
this year.
theme of the year anyway. But yeah, that's a good point
Yeah.
you're raising. That I forgot about that. Vanya is asking, which act are you most excited for at Melodifestivalen? Sean, do you know the entire list? Or like the ones that stood out to you?
Um, ad lib while I bring it up. I think Eric Sada's
Yes.
back, isn't he? He's going to be an interesting one because I did like
That was his
Sting,
best effort in my view
like
as
the
well.
last song he
Yeah.
had. Yeah, the Mamas obviously, Danny Saucedo as well, and Charlotte
Mm-hmm.
Pirelli, and Anton Ewald,
There are lots of,
and
yeah. I
Arvin
mean, they'll
Garner.
always have a lot of big names.
Yeah, there's star quality.
Mm-hmm. But maybe daughter is back as well. So we could
Yeah,
have one of the favorites, or like based on name recognition, or we could have a dark horse. As a newcomer. There are a bunch of newcomers as well that could make a difference. Obviously, I'm very much excited about the mama. It's going to be very difficult to beat what they've done. I mean, you cannot beat it. You can only match it because they won. But
mm,
I I want them in in Eurovision for the same reasons as I keep repeating, because they deserve to come back. I just really, really want them to
yeah.
be there as well. Um, Lasse is asking, is Denmark's jump down from 10 to 8 songs this year good or bad to you both? I'm personally worried.
I hadn't heard anything about Denmark, so I didn't know that they'd done that. Um, how to put this? Denmark has not really had high quality selections for a long time now, in my
Very.
opinion, is probably the diplomatic way to put it. So I think if they'd rather focus on quality, then that's a good thing. But I
Yeah.
think they had a good entry last year. Um, there was one song, Human, last year that was grossly underrated. Really good performance, and really should have, in my opinion, won. But yeah, I think it was an improvement last year, so hopefully they keep on the same path.
I hope so too. You didn't even like Rasmussen? Freeze the arrow in the air.
What from 3 years? Yeah, yeah. No, I like that, but it was variations on a theme.
True. That is fair. I get your
If,
point. I get your point. Who should win a dance selection on Monday in Israel? Saul Schatz is asking. Do you know all three songs, Sean? Ooh la la.
I do, but I couldn't tell you which one was which because it was a while since I
Yeah.
listened to them.
There's so the
I think it's La La Love was the one I liked the most, but I could be
I put
wrong.
La La Love as my number one as well. I didn't
Yeah,
necessarily have a strong reactions to any of the songs. La La Love and Ooh La La are like the two that seems to be battling it out. There's like two fractions between the Eurovision fans. It's the Ooh La La or
yeah.
La La Love, both silly song titles. But I
Such
know,
great
right?
titles.
So that's the thing. Either way, they're kind of like the same to me. Um, so that's how I feel. So either Ooh La 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 Love. I personally prefer La La Love because I just am more into the melody. Set Me Free is the other one. This could be potentially more of a jury pleaser, and I think lyrically it's the most sophisticated one out of the three, but it's just not as interesting. And lyrics can be
Mm.
important if it's done right. Of course, they're very important to me as well if I speak the language. But in this case, the song itself just doesn't grab me. So I'm just not quite as crazy about it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
How
Go ahead.
about this one? Which is your favourite from the national final season so far from Alexander? That's a big question.
Um, it's tough. I haven't really compared them all. Um, I will say,
I'd have to say at the minute probably Discotheque or Dark Side
yeah.
if I had to sort of nail my colours to a mast on
Yeah.
something. But
I'm also using this with subject to change, but I would pick my top two from my finished video. Watch it. And probably the Roop. I will agree with that. So,
Mm,
yeah, so that's how I feel. So, but
yeah,
especially certain countries like Estonia, they often make or break me with the staging and the live performance. And I see one song in particular, Koitome, or even Yuko Suviste could really even. I mean, I like the songs already to begin with, but I think a fantastic, a touching live performance or visually appealing one could bring it up in my ranking even more.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I'm going to caveat my answer with, and I'm going to hold my hands up here. I haven't listened to Portugal or Estonia yet. I'll be honest. I'll hold my hands up. So if there's a gem in there that I'm missing, I apologise. But at the moment, from what I've heard, yeah, I'd go with those.
yeah. And people are asking about Portugal and our opinions. Sean hasn't listened to it yet, so he cannot answer that. I have
I'm
listened
sure they're
to.
all great. I'm sure they're all wonderful songs. All 10
I'm
out of 10.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
And I only listened to the first semi so far, and I put up a video yesterday. So I haven't memorized the names yet, so I can even tell you the name of my personal favorite from semi one. So you have to look it up because I've been so busy. But semi one is up. You can get my opinion on that one. And semi two, I'll try to listen to it either today, but it's already I've been doing this all day, or tomorrow. So it'll be up early next week. The videos I haven't listened to them yet, so don't spoil it for me. I'm watching you. Don't spoil it, peeps. So yeah, let's see here. Question for both of you. Oh no, we did that one already. I'm silly. Um, is La La Love or La La Love? Okay, La La Love Cyprus 2012 or La La Love Israel 2021. Sean doesn't remember exactly La La Love. You listened to it once,
Yeah, I'm going to say
but
Cyprus regardless, because none of the three that I listened to were any. Like, Cyprus is like Ivy Adamu's song. It's a classic. It
yeah.
is. It is an absolute classic. So, yeah, it's going to take a lot to beat
Yeah, I agree with
that
that.
genre.
It's a classic. And I wasn't as crazy initially, but that was when it became a Eurovision classic and I just it's just awesome. One
Yeah.
more question. You think any act in MGP has been better than Kaino so far? Your opinion about
Um,
Kaino, because I got a lot of interesting comments about my opinion on Kaino.
so yeah, so when it was first announced, I tweeted and said that unpopular opinion, but I don't think this was before the songs came out, I think, but I have
Mm-hmm.
a feeling that they won't win it, that something will come along and, they'll pip them to second. And I don't know how popular they are in Norway to be like a household name that people would vote for. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
know whether it's just like a Eurovision fan thing or not. Um, I think at the moment people are sleeping a little on Let Loose. I think it's got a really good staging,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes to life when it's performed. And I think in the right environment and in the right field, you never know. You
Yeah.
never know.
I agree with you actually on that, Liz. I liked it before, but live it's even better, like the
Yeah,
staging. What's your opinion about Monument, the song
it's a
for
good
Kaino?
song. It's again, it's like with the Roop, you don't want to compare two songs because artists grow
Mm-hmm.
and they change. It's not as good as Spirit in the Sky. Um, it is still a good song. It's probably the best song that I've heard from them other than Spirit in the Sky. But I'm not convinced by it at the moment.
Yeah. It's a similar response that I had because when I did last week's live stream, my initial response was, it's a good song. I just don't quite get the hype over it.
Mm.
So I'm wondering if it's the hype because it's kind of, or people genuinely like it. But it seems a lot of people just genuinely like the song, and I like it too. I just didn't have an immediate impact like Spirit in the Sky had to me.
Mm.
And I pointed out the things that I liked about Spirit in the Sky. First of all, it was written for Eurovision. Monument, you can say, is a little bit more almost mainstream rather than Eurovision friendly, which is not a bad thing. But what I liked about Spirit in the Sky was the playfulness between the three singers,
Mm.
how they took turns. Here, it's all about the female singer, Alexandra, right? She's the
Yeah.
star of the show. Tom was basically demoted to backup singer. And I miss this playfulness that the band had with Spirit in the Sky, which is like he's singing, she's singing, he is doing his yoik. It
Yeah.
was just so cool and was so entertaining, and
I
that
think it
aspect
was.
I miss.
I think Spirit in the Sky as well was just so Eurovision-y that it
Yeah,
was like
very Eurovision.
if you take it out of normal context and put it in a Eurovision context, it is just such a great. It's going to be an all-time classic.
Yes,
And
yes,
it will. I
and
think it was. Wasn't it fifth in like the ESC 250
I
at
don't know.
the
I
end of
never
last
watched
year?
that.
It was quite. So it's high up in people's estimations. So I can understand the hype.
I
But
mean, being the most recent televote winner, you would expect it being really high in the ESC top
yeah.
50, which is just dominated by new songs anyway, which is one of the reasons I don't watch it. um, but yeah, one person asked, about Tix's song, which I meant to ask as well, because it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been seeing on Twitter, I didn't follow it religiously, but that Tix, who was the other direct qualifier from who performed last week, is doing really, really well on the charts, better than actually Kaino. You remember last? Did you watch last week's Tix with the
I
Dark
saw it.
Angels?
Yeah. I don't think it's anything special. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it might be. Apparently, he's really popular in Norway, which is fine. So it's one of them that you can't really predict because of the local factor, I guess. But yeah, for me, it's nothing really special, to
Yeah,
be honest. It's like a
I
6 out
personally,
of
yeah.
10.
Yeah, see, I like it better than Monument personally. I still like Monument. I want to be clear. People think I hate it. I don't. I like it. I just, Tix to me also just kind of I like better. But
Mm.
I can't even really say why. It's just kind of like I remember it. The song melody is stuck in my head more than Monument. Monument, I had to listen to like two or three times to be really like, oh, that's good. So that is the problem. And people are still talking about James Newman with having a Brit here. I mean, I was one of the few people it seems who was quite vocal about their fondness of last year's entry. Was my number one? No, but I thought it was a good solid entry that felt British to me.
Yeah,
I was complaining it was too short because it was only like 2.5 minutes long. Like, use the entire 3 minutes. Don't be silly. That's always my issue. But I
yeah.
thought it was a good song. I didn't think it would have done too well, but I liked it.
I don't think the song was up to much, but I like him, and
Yeah.
that's the important part here. There was I think it was about a 10-minute sort of mini documentary that the BBC produced actually in May, I think it was. And
Mm-hmm.
it was following James from being chosen, performing, and then the cancellation and everything after that. And he got COVID. So, it
Oh,
was
he
that whole
did.
sort of, yeah, that whole sort of story. And he just seemed like such a likable guy who really wanted to grab the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So for that, I'd like to see him back. But I think there's more to his artistry than is let on in his first song. So if he comes back with something much better, brilliant.
Yeah, he's a good
Uh,
singer. I really like his
yeah,
voice.
but I do have a feeling the BBC are just gonna, sort of keep the cards close to the chest, and something different's going to happen next year. This year, I should say.
I feel the same
Uh,
way. It's
yeah,
tough. I mean, same in Germany. They didn't just go with the same act. And it just happens a lot, especially in those bigger countries.
yeah,
Spain, certainly an exception there. But in other countries, they're just not gonna be like, "Oh, we feel so bad for you. Here, go again." I'm like, "No, we
yeah,
don't have. We don't know what you're gonna bring, so
yeah.
still
I
leave it."
think the British and German music industries are probably particularly cutthroat compared to others. So yeah,
Yes, yes. You're not gonna get that nice little "sure you go" like they do in North Macedonia or in other
yeah,
countries. So even Australia was like, "Yeah, Montaigne, you go," but they only have done what, two national finals so far. So it's not like they were like glued or like stuck with the system there
yeah,
anyway. So we shall see. Anyway, those is what we had so far. So much happening, so much more to go. This is very interesting times because we don't know what's going to happen.
No.
We don't know if we're going. So all of that's still up in the air. So once again, prepare for the worst,
Mm.
but hope for the best.
Isn't
Is
it?
that fair?
It's just great to have it all back, isn't it? You
Yeah.
know, it's been tough for everyone, and I think just it's just for people like Eurovision fans, it's just a bit of normality for them. You know, it's like people having sport to watch or something to distract themselves from. I
Yeah.
guess, even if we can't go, even if it's not scenario A or B, it's great to have this to look forward to. So, yeah, bring it on.
I could relate to the people here in the US because there was a huge freak out because of the sports not happening, like football, baseball, and people freaking out. I can relate in Eurovision terms, right?
Yeah,
Because I'm just like, ugh, we're used to having our patterns, the national final season, then the whole Eurovision getting ready, and then suffering together through the post Eurovision depression time period, and then, slowly getting into the news again. It always seems to be a cycle. Unfortunately, it seems as because there was this big break, like a 2 year break basically in Eurovision, that a lot of fans kind of dropped off.
mm,
Like a lot of people kind of lost interest and they're bummed out and they haven't gotten back into the groove of Eurovision yet. Of
yeah,
course, you people in the chat different, and a lot of other people, but it just seems to be a little drop in excitement or interest, and this is what we're doing, trying to get people back excited because at least we know it's going to happen. Even worst case scenario, situation D, scenario D, no one can go, but the show will happen. And
yeah.
that is the most important thing. All right. So that's what we have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back soon. Sean, you'll be back soon, right? Now that we had you, you cannot not come back.
Oh, I guess I'm trapped now. Yeah,
You're
I'll be
trapped
back.
now.
I'll be
That's
back
happened.
sooner than you know it. Don't worry.
Okay. Not too
Yeah.
soon. I'm kidding.
Yeah.